Okay. So let's go over putting code up on GitHub here. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways of doing it because I'm going to give this video to one of my other classes too. But let's see, do I have GitHub Desktop on here? So one thing you can do is go to your web browser, do a search for GitHub Desktop. And this is a GitHub graphical user interface thing. You can get it for Windows or Mac. So it would be the same thing. Huh?
Even Linux.
I don't think Linux has one.
It has one. But it's not actually it's not original code.
Yeah.
They have a test.
Okay, possibly. But I'm going to do Linux from another thing. All right, so in any case, if you're on here, download it for yours, and then you'll have something that looks like GitHub Desktop, like this. And what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to
Hope you can sleep away. You probably will. When you are sleeping, you dream you're still buzzing.
oh, whatever. Do I not have a convenient way of? It let me show the clipboard here, but how do I get? I'm trying to copy these files over. It's unimportant. So I'll just do it with a different file. So let's say that I have a folder. So here's in my downloads folder. Here, this is Ani's code thing. We'll go ahead and put the code thing up on GitHub. How about that? All right, so we have this code folder that I downloaded off of Ani's thing. So I opened up my Git desktop. That's this GitHub desktop. That's this thing right here. And I'm going to hit this drop down here. And actually, it's not up there on this one. It's here. So go up to File, say New Repository. Actually, we're going to, this will work. We'll do New Repository. And it's going to ask us, what do we want to name our repository? So we're going to call this guy Arduino code. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in my downloads folder. So I just told it the location where it is. And this is going to create a folder for me that's going to be empty initially, but it's going to have my repository defined in there. All right. So I'm naming my folder Arduino code. It'll create the repository in there for me. You tell it what path you want it in. I usually don't initialize it with a README, and you don't need any git ignore or license stuff for it. So you just say create repository. All right, so now I have this repository. So what I'll see now is in my downloads folder, I have this Arduino code thing that was just created. So I'll just go to my downloads. Here's Arduino code. I'm going to drag that code folder that Ani gave us in there. So now my Arduino code folder has my code folder inside of it. And what we'll see here is notice a whole bunch of crap changed out here. So GitHub Desktop now notices that a bunch of stuff changed. Good.
Can you just save it in there? So like if you haven't saved it yet, can you just save it into that folder? Does that make sense?
Save it into which folder? Which?
Into that one, like the location.
Oh, yeah. Anything you move.
If I'm just in Notepad right now.
Correct. Anything you move into that folder is now being tracked by Git. So by me setting up that folder as a repository, it now tracks changes to that folder. So I happen to drag that code folder in there. All right, so now you'll see here's all the changes that have been made to my repository since I originally created my repository. So then I'll go to, you have to do something under the, in order to commit your initial change, you have to put a description in there. So we'll just say initial commit. And then I'll say, oh, sorry. The initial commit actually has to be here. Like it said, it's required. So commit to master. So it's saying, okay, everything's good. No local changes currently. All that stuff that we had over here disappeared. Now you do publish repository. The first time you do this, it'll ask you for your GitHub username and password. So for me, I think I've already logged into my GitHub account on here. So it'll pop up like this, github.com. It's asking, what do I want to call that guy? I'm going to go ahead and uncheck, keep this code private. That way I can put a link to it up on Slack or something. I don't have to choose an organization if I don't want to, because I keep my business stuff up there too. And then just say publish repository, and then we'll actually upload that to GitHub. Well, first you commit to master. That commits it locally. Then you hit publish repository. And the first time you do that with Git Desktop, it's going to ask you for your GitHub username and password.
And we should do a new repo every time we do
That would probably be the easiest, but if you want to do it all in one repo and just tell me the name of the file, I'll find it, but it'll be most convenient to just do it that way. Now, the alternative, and let me just show you kind of the background here to GitHub, because I'm going to do this for my other class. I might as well do this all in one video. So what I just did here is for Mac OS or Windows, and apparently this Git Desktop also has a Linux version of it. I've never actually tried to download it on this. Let me just go on to Linux real quick and see.
You probably do
With
search.
private, can you still access with a link?
Huh?
With a private repo, can you still access with a link?
Yes, but only people you've invited as collaborators,
So I need to invite you as a collaborator?
or make it public. Even if you already created it, you can go on to GitHub's website and go and change it to public.
That's where I am.
Yeah, but make it public. Yeah, see, this shows for,
The official one is, but if you Google search it, you'll find like a kind of beta version. It's a
GitHub Desktop Linux.
yeah, it's in the
Is GitHub Desktop available for Linux users?
anyway. There's a test one I tried.
Does it work?
I think it works. I cannot really remember, but you know that I'm working on the Ruby on Rails project.
Mhm.
I definitely used it.
Okay. Well, here, I'll show. There might be a Git Desktop thing. If you want to go and figure out how to use it for Linux, you can. But let me show you how you can do GitHub from the command line. This will work on Mac OS. You can also do it on Windows if you get the Git command line. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to Git. I'm on Linux here. I'm going to go to github.com. So this is something that will benefit you in industry and things like that if you ever need to interact with GitHub from the command line. So I'm going to log into GitHub here. All right, and I'm going to create, so I'm in my GitHub account here. I'm going to create a new repository. So I'm doing this all on the GitHub side. So I'm going to call this guy CSC 300. I'm uploading some linked list code for my 300 class. So CSC 300 underscore spring 2020 underscore linked list C++. So that'll be the name of my repository. Huh? And I'll make this guy
What
public.
What
And-
mean by description?
What?
What is the description?
Yeah, I don't put anything in there. You can put whatever you
Okay.
want. But yeah,
Okay.
so I'm going to create this brand new repository. I'll make it public. Like I said before, I never initialize mine with READMEs, but if you're doing this giant project, sometimes a README can be very helpful, but I'm usually just sharing code with classes or something. So now what's cool about GitHub when you do this, it does help you with the command line side of things, because when I hit create repository, it's going to give me the command line commands that I need. All right, so I already have a directory here with my code in it. So this is it right here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove the a.out, my executable for this. So I just have my C++ files. But now I want to create a Git repository here. The thing we used Git Desktop for a few minutes ago, and we said create new repository, and it gave us that folder that we could drag crap into and it tracked. I can do that from the command line by just saying git init. That'll initialize a new Git repository. Now we won't see any difference here, but if I do an ls-a, we'll see the .git folder that was created in there. So any folder with a period before it is a hidden folder. All right, so now I have that. So I can come back in here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to commit this guy. So I'll just copy the command. So this says, what is it? There we go. So I'm using the git command to commit. -m is for a message, call it first commit. All right, so it's saying we have untracked files. So I need to do a git add, and if you do git add dot, it'll put all the files in the current directory. And now if I do that git command, or git commit -m, and then whatever comment I want to put in there, it shows that I have these files that have been created as part of my repository. If I want to make sure it sees those changes, I can say git status. Because they're new files. If I make a little change to one of those files right now, let me just do that real quick, just to show you. Make a new object, something like that. And then I come in here and I do git status. We see that that file has now changed. It lets me know it's out of sync, and I need to recommit it. If I come back in here and I just take that out, I think it should actually notice that nothing's changed now. Yeah. All right. So now I have my local repository. I've committed my files. I've added my local files I want to track. I've committed those local files locally, but now I want to get it up to my GitHub account. If I go back to GitHub, it shows me I can add GitHub as a remote. So it tells me the whole name of this repository I created on here. So I copy this line. So this is git remote add origin, and then this big long link to where your Git repository that we created is. So I'll go ahead and paste that in here. So now I've told it about my remote repository, because Git is different than GitHub. Git is a technology for managing, it's version control for managing different versions of files, usually for code. GitHub is an online repository for holding Git repos, Git repositories. So this let me tell my local Git about the remote guy. All right. So now I can finally now push my local committed repository to my remote, which is called origin. It's called origin because that's what I named it. Git remote add origin. So git push -u origin master. Master is the name of my local repository. Origin is the name of my remote repository, and I'm pushing it up there. Okay, it's going to ask me for my username for GitHub, and ask me for my password. All right, it's now up there. So if I come up to GitHub here, and I just refresh this page, we'll see my code is up there.
So now if you made a change, how would you commit that?
Oh, so if I make a little change to the file, some change, come down here, if I say git status, we'll see that a change has been made. I'll do git commit -m. I shouldn't have to add it. It's already tracked.
Oh, if it's a new file. New file.
Yeah, you have to do git add
It is
first.
once you now if you do get status, it is in green color.
Oh, yep. Why wasn't it track? It should track it.
Well, because git add stages the change. Like you have to stage
Yeah.
the change before
Yeah.
you can commit the change.
So it showed me that something had changed, so we did a git add. Now I can do a git commit made change. Did I already do that? there's my git commit made change. It says one file changed, one insertion, one deletion. So that updated my local repository. And now if I want to push it back up to GitHub, I'll do that command. Surprised it's not remembering my username and password. I probably can do there's an echo thing. Yeah.
So so if you had a change and you were using GitHub Desktop, how would you do that then?
It'll manage it for you. You wouldn't have to do the git add. So back over here on GitHub Desktop,
Just change one file.
yeah, let's say that here we're just gonna drop some file in here. Call this guy test. We will save this. We're gonna save it in our downloads Arduino code folder. All right, so now we have this new file in there called untitled, whatever, that's fine. So now when I come back in here, notice it's already noticed the change. So now I just say added file, commit to master, push origin.
So it just detects
It does
right
the
away.
magic behind for us behind.
Yeah, I've done this stuff with like GitLab for work, but I've never done it like on my personal, where it's been a while since it.
Huh?
We don't have that one.
The old version control is CBS is the really old one. Okay, so that's the scoop for getting stuff up on GitHub. So I'll stop this recording and I'll upload it, but I'm actually going to flag it under 2 different classes because I want them to have access to it as well. So you'll see it on both playlists.